This is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. That and suddenly my head was quiet.
Oh my God.
I did not know that half of the constant babble in my head and half of the ears ringing and everything was all the spirits around me trying to get my
Yeah.
attention.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for staying. I'm here to share with you the beautiful transmissions from the walls of my cavernous heart and to witness the great frequency shift that we are moving into as a collective and the beautiful deep work that we are doing as we glide into the age of Aquarius. This is the Liminal Frequencies podcast. Let's go. Hello, friends. Welcome to the show. In this interview today, we're going to dive into the idea of resistance and navigating the unconscious realms. And to move into that, I want to tell you a story about Odysseus and the Odyssey. Before we do that, I'm curious how everybody's feeling this week. I'm here with Captain Spud. He's a narwhal. And today we decided to just have a little comfort animal in the office because recovering from the upgrade, been under the weather, and feels like I've been through a meat grinder. And in astrology, we're moving through Uranus and Taurus. Stop it. Conjunct the sun. And that's taking us to a very specific star point of the Pleiades. So we're receiving consciousness and energy of the Pleiades that's very unique as we're moving out of Uranus and Taurus into Gemini. And it's super wild. I can feel a lot of stuff coming online. Sometimes you close your eyes and you blind yourself from what's coming through, and then your senses enhance. So in that very same way, having your nose or your ears clogged or your throat clogged, not being able to use your singing voice, not being able to work, it's a lot more exhausting just to sit around and do nothing. So, got to keep the podcast going. And so, this journey from the Odyssey, the Iliad, is the part where they're spending time on the island of Circe, who's a witch that turns all the men into pigs. She falls in love with Odysseus, and Circe warns them about their route to the next location that they're moving through and how they're going to pass an island of sirens. And in my memory, I saw sirens as mermaids, but in this story, the sirens are these bird creatures that exist on this island. And what they do is just completely obliterate and destroy men. They lure them in with their beautiful songs, and then they warble the men to death with the sweetness of their songs. And if a man comes across the sirens, he'll never get to come home to his wife and kids. So it's a very seductive experience to be in the presence of the sirens. And to me, it matches this theme that we have of the unconscious or the underworld. And so Odysseus really wants to hear the siren song, and the plan is to give all the men beeswax. And if they put the beeswax in their ears, they won't be able to hear the siren songs, and it won't be able to affect their navigation on the ship. And so everybody but Odysseus puts beeswax in their ears. And Odysseus wants to hear the song, but not be affected by it, not be hurt. And so they tie him to the mast, and he struggles the whole time. The ropes are cutting him, and he really wants to swim to the island with the sirens where they're singing and embrace them. And yeah, he just continues to struggle against these ropes and scowls at the men who can't hear the siren song and asks for his freedom. And it's interesting because under the spell of the sirens, they appear as beautiful as Helen of Troy. And to the crew who have beeswax in their ears so they can't hear, the sirens look like monsters with vicious claws. So eventually they get far enough away that the sirens can't be heard and they're able to untie the captain and continue on their merry way on this journey. So, similarly to these adventurers that are on this ship, we often navigate the unconscious realms, and at times we need to blind ourselves and use some kind of veil so that we're not in that space. And we may have resistance to it, we may have fear. And we're going to go into that resistance with Joanne, who is a tarot reader with 30 years of experience. She's a medium skilled in spirit communication using a pendulum board, a proud mom of a hockey loving 16-year-old son, bridging the seen and unseen with heart, humor, and a touch of magic. So, without further ado, get your beeswax. We're going to dive right in. Captain Spud is here to help us navigate safely in the waters. Hi, welcome to the program. Joanne, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, I'm so excited to talk to you a little bit more about tarot and about how you got into this path of reading people's cards.
Now I get to think about way, way back in the past. We can go all the way back to the beginning. Basically, when I was a kid, and like I said, all the way back to the beginning, I didn't realize it, but I saw people that not everybody else saw.
Wow.
What? Not a big deal. It just, they were never scary. Some of them were dressed kind of weird, but it happens. And I had what my parents determined was an imaginary friend.
Yes.
He happened to be an indigenous boy. The area I live in was at one point a village site, long time ago. And he would tell me stories. And I don't know. From there, I just got less and less afraid of different things and hit college and a huge depression and a realization that the people that I was seeing weren't real. I thought I was nuts.
Did they ever go away?
Pardon?
Did the people go away or?
Okay, that's in college. Yeah, they kind of did. Basically, I hit a point where I was presented with my path. I had picked up the tarot. I had started exploring alternative. I was raised Catholic, Roman Catholic. And I started exploring alternative belief systems. And I got hit outside by the river, just with the realization that I had a job to do. And severely depressed 19-year-old me said, oh, hell no. I don't want that responsibility. I don't want to do it. I'm not going to look anymore. And that's about when I stopped seeing, because I refused to see. I ignored them with all my might. So I can't really see. I'm aware of them still or now because I'm looking again, but I can't see them anymore.
What was the purpose that you were so reluctant to accept?
Part of the reason that I can see them okay, This is strictly my understanding of what goes on. People, when we pass, depending on the circumstances of our death, go right to the next step, whatever that may be,
Mm-hmm.
or they don't.
Yeah.
Usually, if they don't, it's because either they passed with a great deal of guilt and they're afraid, that whole Catholic guilt
Yes.
thing, and they're afraid of judgment.
Oh,
So
wow.
they don't go, as I put it, through the doorway,
Yeah.
or they die in trauma and don't really know that they should have gone through the door, and suddenly they're kind of in a between place.
Or they don't even know that
And
they
then when
died.
people, well, they know that they eventually figure out that they've died, but they wind up in this between place because they did not go through that door. And one of the things I can do is open that door.
Mm-hmm. So your mediumship
And
was really clear that this is what you have to do, and you were like, no,
yes,
that
and I
sounds,
said, "Oh hell no, that's too much responsibility for me."
yeah. Wow.
um, yeah, and the tarot cards were kind of fun, and so I stuck with those, but only on and off for friends and for myself. When they first came out, and this is about 20 years ago, the inner child deck was a very important tool for me
Mm.
because, and specifically for me, because this was the point at which I started actually dealing with some serious childhood trauma.
Wow.
And the deck, it's a beautiful deck, and it really it, it speaks in kind of that in between place where your standard, we'll say, Rider Waite deck can sometimes just about bitch slap you with the information you need.
Mm-hmm.
And most oracle decks are very gentle with the way they give you the information you
Mm-hmm.
need. This particular deck is kind of solidly in the middle. Not
Mm.
as gentle as an oracle deck, but not as firm
Mm-hmm. I know,
as
it feels like sometimes, and for those of you listening, we just had a wonderful reading. I got a reading from Joanne, and sometimes I just can't even touch tarot because whatever that is out there, I'm not even ready to receive it, and I don't even know it's there. And and I'm an intuitive person, right? But sometimes there's just things that do you want like a chopstick or do you want a cinder block? It's just like, whoa.
yeah.
So you have to meet yourself where you're
And
at sometimes and be like, am I ready for this? Or do I just need to kind of listen just more to because it's very remarkably different. I work with Akashic Records as well. And sometimes, yeah, it can be more like what my soul needs to hear right now than what I'm going to realize painfully within a few months. And it depends on where you're at too. Sometimes you're going through something where you are ready to receive that information and you can do something with it.
yeah, and there's sometimes where it doesn't matter how many times you're told, you don't absorb it
Yeah.
forever. And I still get it. Basically, the cards, any reading, I get told that, I can do whatever I want. I can have success doing everything. I just need to get out of my own way.
Mm-hmm.
Still haven't figured out how to get out of my own way.
Well, let us know if you figure it out.
I'm getting a little better, but yeah.
But isn't that what
um,
channeling is all about? You're using a pendulum. You use the pendulum for me for my reading at the very end, just to get a message from my guides. And that is literally like getting out of your way, just letting the information come through that is not related to what your will is that you're going to impose on the situation or the reading.
Yeah, that's one of the nice things about reading for other people.
Mm-hmm.
Reading for myself, it doesn't work as well
Yeah.
because I have already in my head what I want.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to shut that down and allow the information to just come through or to apply the information where it needs to be applied. As you know, earlier this year and still continuing, I went through a rather dramatic medical crisis. Um, about 3 months before this, the cards, I mean, it was all towers and the devil and all the cards saying there is something huge coming.
Wow. Can you share with us what's going on if you feel comfortable with that?
Yeah, I'm fine. Basically, I literally on the first of the year, probably that's when I took my floor nap. Um,
Your what?
I believe we haven't had it confirmed, but all the symptoms are there. I had what's referred to as a silent heart attack.
Wow.
And then in February, as a result of this not being treated, because we did not know. I mean, there was no pain. Um, I did faint. I was very dizzy. I was very sick for a week. All of the symptoms were there,
Yeah.
but we didn't know what we were dealing with. I thought I had a bad stomach virus.
Wow.
Um, but
Well,
since I
those
was
two are close together. The
right,
stomach and the heart. When somebody has a heart
yeah,
problem,
that's
oftentimes
right
it's
there,
like
and the stomach's like right there.
the stomach is like, I don't know, I want to say abandonment, those words, like the harsh things that happen to childhood that we can't, like, quote unquote, stomach, that can cause us to have
Hmm.
issues with our heart.
Yeah.
Was it, I
Um.
have a question, was it on a Monday?
I don't know. January 1st. Yeah, I think it was this year. It was January 1st, a Monday this year. I mean, literally, I
Statistically,
started.
statistically, you're more likely to have a heart attack on a Monday.
Yeah,
It was. Oh my gosh.
yeah, no, it was. Yeah, it made for an exciting first week of the year. And in February, I that's when I finally went to the hospital because I, of course, having not treated, developed a severe AFib, which wound up with my heart rate just hanging out at about 170
Yeah.
constantly.
Wow.
And it took like 3 days of medication in the hospital to get it down. And we're still working on getting the AFib under control. So yeah, it's been a big year. And like I said, the cards I was seeing leading up to it, the tower, of course, you've got the changes, the devil, which in this case was essentially you need to get out of your own head.
Yeah.
You need to change your way of thinking because you're missing it.
Yeah.
So that's
And you weren't ready to deal with it when you got the message.
nope. And because my relationship is a long distance relationship with a man who himself is dealing with a lot,
Yeah.
I thought that it was applying to issues within our relationship.
Mm.
Because that's the one that made sense to me,
Yeah.
as opposed to looking at what was actually going on and actually listening to and paying attention to my body
So it was your
in
relationship
my
with
business.
yourself rather than the relationship with your partner that was causing all of this turmoil.
Right, right. This is part of why with the business and what I really lean into, or what ends up coming into, because it's what I need, is when I'm reading and what I do with the business is very much leaning into self care, learning to listen to your body,
Mm.
learning to put yourself first. I personally have a history of codependent relationships.
Mm.
So this is all the stuff that I'm needing to learn, and I'm sharing it as I am learning with other people because I know I can't be the only one.
Mhm. Hell yeah. Yeah, I just want to say that's a huge journey for a lot of people. And
Yeah.
yeah, because it's so easy and we're so conditioned to just say like, yeah, it's what this person needs. How can I apologize and make myself smaller and accommodate for the good of others? Because guess what? In our ancestral brain, in our lizard brain, a rejection or a separation from the group, being culled, means death.
Hmm.
So rejection, it hurts like death because we just know that we're not going to make it. And we don't have the understanding now that there's like billions of other people out there that want to be in community with us, that we can be supported by, that maybe are going to accommodate our needs as opposed to the other way around.
And we also don't realize that in the way we often treat ourselves and talk to ourselves, we are giving ourselves that rejection.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we
Wow.
are causing a lot of the reactivity and actually a lot of if you look into what develops cortisol in the body, the stress hormones, that feeling of rejection, that constant feeling of rejection, and as we're constantly rejecting ourselves for whatever reason, putting ourselves last, looking in the mirror saying I hate whatever about myself,
Wow.
all of that talks to the lizard brain the same way. Your
Mm-hmm.
brain, your mind only knows you.
Yeah.
So, how you talk to yourself really affects not just your mental health, but your physical health as well. I am learning to work with that.
Yeah. Bravo.
And that is part of why I've really started reading and why I decided to take it into a business format rather than just for my friends. Well, that and we are hitting a situation here where we need a little more income, and hopefully, I can make that work too.
That's exciting. When did you decide, like, the story was that you were like, I'm not going to be responsible for this role and stepping into it?
Actually, it was kind of a ball rolling that started 3, maybe 4 years ago.
Wow.
I joined a group actually on Facebook, Salt to the Earth Healers, it was. And within the group, they were talking a lot about pendulum boards and everything else. And I impulsively decided to get a pendulum board. And I wasn't expecting much because I decided in my wisdom that that connection, that ability I had to see,
Hmm.
that communication I had with the Ouija board when I was 12,
Wow.
that was all my imagination. So I get the pendulum and I get the board, and, watching videos on YouTube and whatever, what I can expect the pendulum to not really react immediately. And I'm sitting here holding the pendulum and it's already going, yes, no, it's already responding like that. I'm going, huh, well, that was a surprise. And the ball just rolled fast from there. I was like, oh, wow, this is real. I can do this and I'm supposed to do this. And it feels good to do this.
Aw, that's great.
And the woman who runs, I don't remember the evolution of the group name, but the woman who runs that group, one of the things she did within the group was a crossing so that we could come together. We did a group meditation and she led so that we could cross whatever dead were around us that were ready to go through that door.
Mm.
And that was the first time I had done it,
Wow.
was as part of that. And I was like, oh yes, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. That, and suddenly my head was quiet.
Oh my God.
I did not know that half of the constant babble in my head and half of the ears ringing and everything was all the spirits around me trying to get my
Yeah.
attention.
Whoa. Have you heard of Cambo?
No.
It's a medicine combo. It's a medicine from the Amazon. It's not really psychoactive, but it can connect you with the spirit of the medicine. It's a frog and it causes a physical, very physical detox, very short, very, uncomfortable, but they actually use it for hunting. And so, interestingly enough, I just talked to somebody in another episode with Shanna, and she said that combo was good for tinnitus. And in this moment, I wondered if the combo actually helps to clear the energy of the person. And in that way, it helps them to separate themselves from those spirits and those energies that are.
Right. Depending on what the actual cause of the tinnitus is.
Right.
Because while it reduced mine, I also have physical causes, which there are some vitamins that help with that. Magnesium helps a little, but it is what it is. So it's just there.
I've also heard electromagnetic frequencies too. That, like, if you think about we're electromagnetic and then spirits are electromagnetic, it just on top of each other, just so much noise. So if we can reduce just a little bit of that noise, right?
Yeah. No, or at least stabilize it and get it all uniform on one wave.
Yeah. So it's so interesting to me because this timeline that you mentioned, like 3 or 4 years ago, that is around 2020. And of course, we know there are a lot of events happened, but also the veil just, I think, fell apart.
Yeah.
It didn't thin, it fell apart.
It got real, everything just.
And if you were on a path that wasn't right for you, like the universe wouldn't let you stay on that path. That's clear.
Yeah. I've most of my life been on not right paths. That whole get out of your own way.
Yeah.
I'm the queen of having someone go, you really should give this a try. I should. I had been thinking about it before that, but now that you've said it, I can't. Sorry, no.
Well, now your gift is like that you know about resistance, and we've all been on that side of it, but you can teach people how to like navigate their own resistance.
It's still a hard one. I don't do that well.
Yeah, but I think everybody, it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy just to let go, and there's been so much transforming happening, and just to let go and just to float to the next little post is.
Yeah, that's a tough one. And even with starting as a business, I had decided in January of last year that I was going to do this, but I didn't actually start it until June.
Wow.
This year is my official 1 year.
Congrats. Yeah, amazing. What's the biggest challenge that you felt so far?
Actually, kind of all of it, if that makes sense. The readings are the easy part. That's easy, that's fun. The actual business end, do I advertise? How do I price what I'm doing?
Right.
What do I do for free? And how do I get out there? How do I generate customers? And how do I keep that balance between, yes, I want to make money, but I want to help people. And I want to be able to have fun with it. So that balance is an interesting one.
Yeah. And do you find that tarot or the pendulum helps you navigate some of those things?
Yeah, it does. I've started working a little bit with the Akashic Records, and that has helped some. That's helped a lot more with healing some things that I've needed to heal. The hard thing is, as we mentioned, that urge to resist. If I'm getting a clear guidance in one direction, I have a real hard time not fighting it.
It's almost as if resistance is the barometer for you to know that you're on the right path, right? Like, oh,
Almost, yeah.
I'm here. Of course. If you're not, if you ever don't resist something, you should probably be worried. Like, it's a cult.
Possibly.
Did you learn the Akashic Records with Amy?
Oh, yes, yes, he did.
Oh, fabulous. Yes, I did her level 1 through 3, the Healer's Edition.
Yeah, no, well, I've done whatever free things she's had available. I just don't have the funds to do any of her paid classes. But much like the pendulum, it's come naturally. It's like you're supposed to be doing this. And that was the reason for my beauty here.
Your
I
tattoo?
don't know if you can see the tattoo.
Is that a phoenix?
Yes. Well, it's a broken heart and a rose growing out of the heart and a phoenix.
Love it.
The very first class I did with Amy, she did a healing across all timelines.
Wow.
The particular, okay, we'll just do a trigger warning here. The particular trauma, childhood sexual abuse.
Okay.
My problem through my whole life, what I could not heal, is that I walked into this lifetime because it had happened in so many. What I saw was myself as a Russian nesting doll, just from like about 14 all the way down to infancy. And each of those me's in different lifetimes had experienced this.
Wow.
And at some point, I got the idea that it was me. That there was something about me that made people do that.
Wow.
And the healing with Amy across all timelines eliminated that thought. And that's why we got that tattoo. Yeah.
You broke the pattern.
That's where I was in my head.
Yeah.
And
well, because we keep visiting the same scenarios in order to try to heal that. If we want to heal sexual trauma, our soul finds ourselves in sexual trauma so that we can finally heal that.
Yeah.
Wow.
The thing that blows my mind beyond that whole thing that I saw, when she first guided us into the record, I stepped down and into this library, and I'm like, oh, I'm home.
Wow.
And it's relatively easy to do.
Yeah.
For me.
Welcome home, by the way. I can see that you're really in the place where you are meant to be.
Yeah. At least for the moment.
Yeah.
And it all works together for me. So, like I said, the hard thing is pricing myself, because with the way everything is coming together, I want to help.
Yeah.
I want to help everyone. That's the reason. One of the things I've decided is that anybody who, with parental permission, of course, wants to have their child or teen have a reading, I read for kids and teens free.
That's so sweet.
Because, well, experience. It's a fabulous experience, I think, any new experience.
Yeah.
But also, I think it is fabulous, especially for teens, young teen girls, with all of the less than ethical readers out there, for them to get the idea what it feels like, how someone who is an ethical reader talks to you.
Yeah.
And how they read and what they don't say. You know, there is no point at which I am going to tell a 13-year-old girl that there are generational curses that she can break, and for an extra $50, I can break them for her.
Oh gosh. Wow.
Yeah. And if having me read for them prevents them from taking seriously someone like that who will take advantage of them, yay.
Yes. Yeah, and it's your gift. And I feel that way too. It's hard to ask money for a gift, but to just to see an energy exchange happening. And
Yeah,
that's what I believe the guy who came up with Reiki, the first Reiki master, he said, just make sure you're giving something, you're also receiving something. There is some energy exchange, whether it's they bring you a cup of coffee and you give them a reading because they want a reading. It is a way that you can put your resources and your own energy towards something and not just expending it without any return. And with the kids, I
right.
think that's beautiful that you offer that.
Yeah. And with the kids, it may not be energy that comes back to me, but I do think it is putting out energy that this world needs.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't imagine being a kid right now. So hard. My inner kid is sometimes just like, oh, what is this? What is going on in this
I,
world? Yeah. So this inner child healing
yeah,
deck, that was a huge shift for you because you were able to bring and
yeah,
engage your inner child in the readings.
yes. And like I said, for me, that was part of my healing journey that started 20 years ago when that
Mm-hmm.
deck was first released.
Amazing. Well, it's been really fun talking and learning about your journey. I have a couple of questions. What do you think would be a suggestion for what people can do out there to connect with their liminal frequencies, their subtle bodies, and the unconscious?
Mm, meditation. However, it does not have to look like meditation
Like a
does
monk
on TV.
on
Now,
TV.
personally, I love the guided meditations on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
They're free. I have some favorites.
Yeah.
And the ones that I like relate specifically to chakra healing and balancing.
Yeah.
But depending on your nature, you have to do a busy hands thing. So, zoning while you're knitting or crocheting,
Mm.
that will help. Art will help. It kind of blows people's minds sometimes that expressing yourself in this way can help you connect with that energy. And without a doubt, getting outside. We are so, so surrounded by everything to keep the noise out, so to speak, that we don't get to hear the sounds.
Mm.
So, getting outside, going to a park, just being able to put your feet in the grass and your hand on a tree helps.
Yeah. I love
And
it.
of course, as I say this, I don't get out nearly enough.
Yeah. Well, the nature whispers to us.
Yep. And you have to go out to hear it.
Yeah. Do you ever have kids that you work with that are interested that you think maybe they get turned on to the pendulum or the tarot or one of the tools?
Very much so. Actually, there are two young ladies right now that have very much so. And it's some of it, I don't know if you went through this period that 12, 13, 14-year-old
Mm-hmm.
period where I swear all girls or most girls just go through it and start exploring that, even now, whether they keep up with it or not. And I have two right now that are in that phase.
I love it.
And I am friends with both of their mothers. They are welcome to text me with any questions whenever.
I love it. Yeah, raising the next generation. Oh, well,
Yeah.
thank you so much. And I will post whatever links that you want to in the show notes below. And so if you want to share anything, if you have any last thoughts or anything you want to share with our listeners.
Okay. Nothing that I can think of. And I'd love if you'd post a link to my Facebook page.
Wonderful, fabulous. Well, I honor new journey with this business, and I'm so excited for you and how things unfold.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Nice talking to you.
That concludes our interview with Joanne. And what a beautiful way to connect with the youth and new generations is to help them to bridge the gap into the unconscious, to not have fear and resistance of the unconscious and the unconscious mind. It feels sometimes like you have somebody else there with you. And I know a lot of people can relate to this. You don't feel quite alone when you have your guides dropping you insights, or even just pulling a few cards from a deck. It feels like you're consulting the divine. And it goes all the way back to ancient Greece, the Oracle of Apollo, and that was at Delphi. So Zeus sent an eagle two directions to find the center of the earth, and it landed at Delphi. And that's where the temple was, where they would consult oracles and they would use herbal medicine and smoke, and they would come up with consultations for a donation and answers for people. I also believe that tarot origins are from ancient Egypt and a system that developed into a set of playing cards. Actually, if you take a set of playing cards, you can read tarot that way. You just won't have the major arcana, which is the specific suits that aren't like a card deck. As we wrap up this episode, I want to reflect on the part of the story when Jason and the Argonauts pass by the islands with the Sirens, and rather than having to stick beeswax in their ears, they have Orpheus, who is a jolly musician, and he has a lyre, and he sings this beautiful song on his lyre, and it's so loud that the crew can't even hear the sirens. And so it's a reminder for us that what's out there, it can be overwhelming and daunting. And I feel this sometimes with the news and pop culture and social media, that if we can just fill the air with our own song and our own energy. I tend to do this when I'm in a space where I feel uncomfortable. I might sing out loud or I might sing to myself, but just filling the air with the familiarity of my own frequency is something that really helps me. So as we glide into this new timeline, this new age of Aquarius, Venus is clearing her shadow of the retrograde, and so we will feel like we're flowing with our feminine energy and our masculine on a line, and our creativity. So thank you so much for joining us. You have arrived at your destination. Jillian and Captain Spud signing off.